Hey guys, James here today and welcome back to another Sims 4.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to tea or anything? Oh, sorry, you're recording. Hi, everyone. Hi. You can subscribe at youtube.com/Deligracy. I do Sims videos as well. Do you want tea?
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank
Wildberry?
you. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Hey guys, James here today and welcome back to another Sims 4 video. Today I'm somewhere a little bit different. So I was supposed to be on a plane to London a few minutes ago actually, because I'm going there for Sims Camp in case you missed that. But the flight was cancelled, so I'm actually here in Melbourne. I'm stuck here for the night. And Deli was kind enough to lend me her computer and her setup to be able to record this video for you guys. So this is all going to be all about the terrain editing and terrain manipulation that's coming to The Sims 4. It's coming in a free update, so this is available for everyone. I think the estimate is probably November sometime. We don't know exactly when, but it will probably be before The Sims Get Famous comes out. The Sims 4 Gets Famous, because that comes out November 16th. So this will probably be before that, would be my guess. So I got the stream and we're gonna basically have a look through what they showed and we'll talk about it a little bit as we go. I don't think these headphones suit me as well as they suit Deli, but it's what she's got. That's what I'm using. So they start off by showing the very basic use of the tool. Basically where the grid is yellow, you can see where the grid is, that's actually where the game is gonna be like completely flat. It's exactly flat ground. So anything missing the grid is gonna be a little uneven, and that's actually really helpful because if you guys ever used terrain editing in The Sims 3, that was a nightmare when the lot was just like slightly uneven. You couldn't tell, and it was just, I remember it being so annoying. So that's actually super useful that they did that. So also down the bottom, they've added in a softness slider and a speed slider. So basically you can make the changes really quick and really harsh, or you can do them really smooth and really, really slow. So you can get really granular movements in it. So something that I think is really, really useful in The Sims 4 that they've added are these topology lines that you can see here that they're showing off. And they basically indicate where, you know, stairs would go. So they have to be on sort of one of those lines. So that gives you an indication of exactly how to line stuff up. And one of the tools that allows you to flatten stuff is actually one that will snap to each of these lines, depending on where you put it. And you can actually set the height of one of them and then flatten something else somewhere else at the same height as well. So you can see at this point, he's adjusting the height that he wants the terrain to be at. And then once you've selected it, no matter where you move the brush around the lot, it will be at that height. So you can level one part and the other part exactly the same. So if you were trying to build like a little bridge across or something like that, you'd be able to do that knowing that this would actually be the exact same height. So there's like no guesswork, which I think is such a huge quality of life improvement over previous iterations of the game. Sims 2, I feel like Sims 2 was a little bit easier just because there was less granularity in the terrain. But then when Sims 3 added the ability to move the terrain however you wanted, the fact that we didn't know what was level and we didn't know what was like the same height made it pretty difficult to play with. Now this is super cool. So they've changed the way foundation works completely. So now it depends on per room around the lot. So obviously these two rooms are separate, so they can be two different heights. But if you try to join them together, they won't like fit side by side. So basically the way it works is a group of rooms can be all moved at once, up and down to really high extremes, like really high and really low as well. As you can see, they're sort of moving them all over. So basically to be able to join rooms together of different foundation heights, they have to actually be the same level to be able to join. They did say that, so in that case, we can't do split leveling like we did in The Sims 3 or The Sims 2, but they did say that that is something that they would love to add in the future. So that it's not ruled out or anything. They didn't say they're not going to do it. They said it would be nice to do it and they hope that they can. Likewise with the pond tool, there's no ponds that you can make yet, but they did say that that is something they would like to add. And what they mentioned about this tool in general and this big update is they're like, well, this is what we have now. This is what we can give to you now. If we were to, you know, keep adding more stuff, then it would take longer to get it. So I think it's a good compromise in a way. And I'm really excited for the fact that they said that like they're not ruling out all this other stuff, and there's still a high chance that could happen. Well, high chance, that's what I said. They said there's still a chance, you know, that they want to work on this stuff. They would like to do it. So I think that's really good news for us. So what they're doing right here, you can see there's actually two different room clusters, and I'm calling them clusters because that's when they're grouped together. They actually call them block clusters, but I'm just going to call them rooms because they're rooms. So if they're at different heights, you can actually drag other rooms over a separate cluster of rooms. But they have to be a certain height because a sim can walk along the roof of a building. So then that room has to be high enough over it that a sim could still walk there, if that makes sense. So basically, you can do a lot of really interesting things. It's kind of, I guess it's hard to imagine what you can do with the way that they're showing, because they're literally showing the technical aspect of it, and not so much the pretty aspect of it. So you can see right here, there's actually 3 different room clusters, all different heights, one going over the other one. And I'm super excited to be able to play around with this. So you can't build rooms directly into a hillside like you could in The Sims 3 or The Sims 2, mostly because that requires the sort of split leveling aspect that they said they haven't done. And I don't know what they said specifically about building into the terrain, but I would hope that there's still a chance that that could be added later in. But in that case, the way it works now, you can actually still have it kind of look like it's going into the hillside if you use the foundation. So you can see here when they're sort of dragging it out over, the terrain is going to fill in the gap underneath. Now, if you did want to have a room look like it's floating over the edge, because unfortunately everything on ground level will have terrain on it no matter what. You can, not terrain, will have the foundation on it no matter what, so you can't remove it. But what you can do, which is really cool, is if you build a room on the second level, remove the ground level, you can actually move that room down. So this is actually a level 2 room, and it looks like it's on the ground level, but you can see that it's not because it's got a little flooring underneath it, so that's how you know it's sort of technically level 2. But that means you can actually have it floating above the terrain and make it look like a bridge, make it look like it's suspended or anything like that. But all you gotta do, as I'm mentioning here, is actually connect it with stairs so that your Sims can go there. Also, by the way, there's new stairs. They showed a few new items in the game, like sort of hidden in the catalog here and there. Now, the way basements work, there are no like walkout basements, again, like we could do in previous games. But again, I don't know if that's something that they ruled out, but it's just not something that we have in this iteration of it. So the way it works is that the terrain is always above the basement. So the basements will always be below the terrain, and it means that no matter where you move it up or down, the terrain will sort of snap to it. So you got to think of like the terrain as like the barrier between basement levels and above ground levels, and it'll always be between them wherever they are. Now, they did also announce something else pretty cool. They actually added 2 new basement levels. So we can now actually build 4 basement levels and I believe 5 above ground levels, which means we can now have 9-story houses, technically speaking, which is pretty cool. Something else I forgot to mention about basements as well is you can now actually select them through the terrain. Instead of having to go down a level, you can just click to like where you know they are, and then it will actually highlight the basement through the terrain, which is a nice little quality of life improvement. Now, this is actually pretty cool with the pools. So the pools will sort of still be at ground level. They'll pull out and you have this sort of foundation down the edge and get this sort of straight wall looking thing. The kind of sad thing about this though is you can't do like a infinity pool in the traditional way. Like you can't just put windows in foundations, which would make this awesome. Or if they added like a transparent foundation, guys, you should do that. That would make it also really awesome. But they do sort of blend into the terrain really well. And if you built it in a way, it could look really cool. And I guess you could sort of do a faux infinity pool. If you did like a glass fence above it, it might look pretty cool. The way that stairs work as well is pretty simple. Wherever you start placing the stair, it will look for the next like sort of flat level, no matter where you are. And the interesting thing about this, even if the ground level is higher up than like level 2, because that's on a lower bit of terrain, if that makes sense, the stairs will be able to sort of go between the levels, no issues. So here's some of the crazy stuff that they're doing with stairs. They've sort of got them going from the terrain to the top of a building. They're going from like level 3 of a building all the way down to ground level. So stairs basically are super flexible now, and they should be able to go wherever you need them to. So one of the interesting new things that they did as well is like stairs by default in a room always go up, like you can see here. But if you now hold control, you can see the stairs flip around and they start going down, which is something really useful, because I swear in so many builds I've been trying to get my stairs to I'm trying to place the stairs, like stack them, but because you're trying to find where they're going upwards and you have to like empty the room out and do all that, this will make it really easy to place stairs from the level above now. So another really interesting little update that they added in is stairs can actually now go over a half wall without any issues. So like you can see here, they're just demonstrating that the stair is going over that half wall, and they actually added in 2 new half wall heights, but they didn't show it in the stream, they were teasing them. So there's 2 new taller half walls. So presumably to help when you have like the taller walls as well. Now in regards to fences as well, you can see that they will just conform to the terrain like any other Sims game. From what I could tell, I don't think there's really any constraints on the fences and how steep they could go. They look like they kind of just went wherever they wanted. So that's good to know. And also if you place flooring on the terrain, it will just like level the terrain flat, which is a useful little feature. In this case, you can see in this house, he's sort of built like little stepping stones going up and they're all flat along the way, and Sims can sort of walk up around that way too. So you can also see like a floating deck that they've kind of created here by doing that idea of the second level sort of touching the terrain like I was mentioning earlier. And here's a really great example of the fences just snaking their way all the way up as well. So like that kind of stuff is super flexible. While we may not have the traditional sort of split leveling stuff yet, and there is hope for it coming, and I really hope that they do manage to do it at some point. This is a really great start to terrain in The Sims 4. And in terms of Sims being able to walk up and down terrain, if you can see the topology lines, that like these little horizontal lines going along the terrain, if you can see those, the general rule of thumb is Sims can't walk up that. And if you sort of smooth it out a little bit, then they will have no trouble. Now, while we can't put walls inside a terrain, roofs can actually intersect with terrain, no issue at all. So there are a lot of possibilities still to be able to create a room or a house that looks like it's built into a hillside. Also, mind you, I did build whole mountain homes using rocks in the game, so there's definitely going to be ways that we can make it look like a house is built into the terrain, even if it actually isn't. So in the case of the roof here, you can see it's sort of blending into the hillside completely seamlessly. And they did mention the idea of being able to make like a hobbit hole home, because you'd have that sort of arched roof entrance that goes into the terrain. And then what you could even do is if you built a basement under that, you could make it totally like blend into the hillside really, really easily, which by the way, sounds like something that's gonna be really fun to build, and we're gonna have to try that out. And as far as new things go, that's pretty much everything they showed with the terrain tools. Obviously, they explained it in way more detail than I have. This is a really quick recap of the stream for you guys that didn't get a chance to see it or don't have time to see it, but I will link the full stream down below so you can go and watch that. They explain it really, really well, and it's super exciting to see. While it is disappointing that we obviously don't have proper split leveling and we don't have a pond tool, like I said earlier, they did actually say that that is something they want to add. And for now, they're just releasing the tools as they are because they're going to be, at least we can start using this aspect of it. And the fact that we even got this after 4 years is pretty exciting. So, I mean, it has me really excited for the fact that they could definitely add these other things. So I guess we have that to look forward to. But that's it for this short little video. Thanks to Deligracy for letting me use her beautiful setup while I'm stuck here in Melbourne for a day before we go to London because our flight was cancelled. But that is all. Let me know what you think of the terrain tools down below. Are you super disappointed that we can't do split leveling? Or are you excited by the fact that they're actually even adding in these tools to begin with? I can tell you what, I'm excited by the tools. I'm definitely disappointed that we don't have the full split leveling, but I'm excited by the fact that they didn't rule it out. So I think it should be, I think we're gonna have an exciting year of The Sims coming up, if this is where we are now. But thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time, and have an awesome day.